Hey everyone, we're here today with my cohort, Karla Kyte. She is with CrossCountry Mortgage, and we are going to talk a little bit about just what's changed in the market and how it's actually a good time for buyers and why it's a good time for buyers to go ahead and find a house, even though the interest rates have not really come down where we were wanting to see them. So, welcome, Karla.
Thank you. Thanks always for having me, Carol.
Yes, of course. So tell us a little bit about what you've been seeing in the market as far as interest rates and just some benefits to buyers and why buyers should maybe get off the fence and look more at purchasing versus just kind of still hanging tight and waiting.
Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, I think the thing to really understand as a buyer is you cannot time the market with these interest rates. The rates are all over the place. We're up one day, down the next day. Currently, we're having a horrible day in the market. We had a horrible day in the market yesterday.
Okay.
So as a buyer, you can't wait and see when the rates are low and then try to go out and contract on a house because by the time you contract, they could go right back up, right? I mean, they're literally doing this day to
Yeah.
day. So can't time the market. I don't think you ever really could, but they are unusually volatile right now. The interest rates just cannot seem to hold steady. So that's the first thing right there.
Okay.
But as you know, and I know a lot of our viewers know, I work with a lot of divorcing clients. And so I feel like, my divorcing clients they're in a even worse position than like a new first time home buyer or something like that, because they've been in this market as homeowners. They've become accustomed to certain things in their home. And now, not only are they faced with having to purchase in a higher rate market and a higher cost market in terms of homes,
Yep.
they're also losing half of their household income that they also have become accustomed to. Okay.
Yep.
So I think just, people inherently just, they spend to what they can, right? I
Yes.
make this much,
Yes.
I spend this much. I make this
Yep.
much more, I spend this much more.
Right.
That's just how it happens. So for that reason, I think that my divorcing clients deal with a lot more, I don't know, adversity in this market, and it's a little bit more difficult. So I'm constantly looking for ways to show them how owning a home still makes sense. It doesn't matter what interest rate market we're in. It still makes sense to own a home because if you're dishing out rent, you're just throwing that money out the window.
Yep.
You're not building any equity. You're not,
Absolutely.
like take all the emotional stuff out.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
really no benefits there to renting. So one of the things that I show all of my clients, not just our divorcing clients, but all of our clients, is the benefits of the mortgage interest tax write-off today. So
Hmm.
really quick, I want to go back a little bit
Sure.
because prior to COVID, the rates were starting to come down. And then during COVID, they were artificially held down. The government was pumping a lot of money into the bond market. That's what got our rates down below 3%. So everybody that I know, and even people that I don't know, refinanced during that time, right? Like it was
Yeah.
a boom. Everybody was refinancing. What people lost in that, which is fine, they lost their ability to write off for a tax benefit with their house mortgage interest. So I know during COVID, I ran this quick little calculation, and I think you had to have a loan amount over like 475 and
Hmm.
an interest rate above 2.75 for you to pay in enough mortgage interest that year to be higher than the standard deduction that every
Hmm.
person is just given,
Okay.
when you do your taxes.
Right.
So each year that standard deduction has increased a little bit, and it's increasing again. It's going to 15,000 in 2025. So for our next income tax cycle, if you're a single person and you have not paid in more than $15,000 in mortgage interest, you're probably just going to take your standard deduction and you're not going to write off that mortgage interest. Now, once you're able to write off something like mortgage interest, there's other stuff that you can pull in, like you can pull in your property taxes and if you're paying mortgage insurance,
Right.
maybe you did some work on the home that you want to write off. That's not a good idea, but that now we're getting into like deep CPA stuff.
Yeah.
But Anyway, so one of the big things is that now, like you can't just dismiss that you have a mortgage interest write-off today because it is a real viable thing
Hmm.
that you work into this calculation. And I'm not just trying to paint like a rosy picture for people that are buying today. It's real.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not a CPA, so I encourage everybody to double crunch these numbers with your CPA and make sure that you're on board. But right before I got on this interview with you, I was actually putting something together for a client of mine. She is a divorcing client, but the point I want to make with her is that she wanted to keep her payment at no more than $2,800 a month. But of course, she found the perfect home that works for her and her situation with her two little girls being newly divorced. Um, it's a home that there probably won't be many of them that come up. It's in the South City Park area, so it's a hot area. And it's really important to her that she's able to have a home that is close to her ex-husband for the girls,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And you and I are both divorced, so we know how this works and how it can be really
Hmm.
important. So, is it okay if I screen
Yeah.
share?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Go for it.
This is so awesome.
I'm excited to see this.
Yeah, it's really cool. Okay, so I'm going to be looking away from the camera here a little bit because I have it on my other screen, but let me just run through this scenario. First of all, can you see my screen okay,
Yeah.
Karen?
Hmm.
Okay. All right, cool. So, in her situation, her loan amount is going to be 401. This is our gnarly interest rate for today. So interest rate of 6.99. Her principal and interest payment is 2665. This is an estimate for insurance, and then these are the property taxes for this unit that she's looking at. So that gives her a total monthly payment of 3142.42.
Okay.
Remember, she wanted to keep her payment at 2800.
Yeah.
So we're going to some of this I have to put in, some of it is filling in automatically. But in her first year, based on this payment structure, she will have paid in 27,900 in mortgage interest. She also has her this is an income tax thing, and this actually caps out at 10,000. This
Okay.
has to do with these numbers down here that we put in. So, because of the way that she will file as now a single person, her income is 96,500. This calculates from that. Okay.
Okay.
So if we plug in the standard deduction of 15,000, she would obviously no longer opt for that because now she has this amount that she can write off.
Right.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's clear that she would file long form for this. She would not just take the standard deduction and do short
Yeah.
form. She would go the long form. I put in all of this criteria here. We have the tables here where we can fact check this to make sure that we're putting in the correct percentages for all of these things here. So her tax benefit comes out to 5,341. So when all of this comes out in the wash, um, that's basically the amount that she would get back. Now, obviously, we're just dealing with a couple of things here. She might
Right.
have other things that she can throw in and have even a greater tax benefit. But
Yep.
just dealing with this and looking at the house, you can see here that she would have a monthly savings if you were to take that lump sum that she'll get back and break it
Right.
up into monthly
Yep.
of $445. So therefore, that would drop her payment down to about 2697 a month if you looked at her effective payment.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
this screen basically says kind of the same thing. It just really highlights everything and breaks it down. But what it also does, which I love, is it gives us an effective interest rate based on all of this information,
Huh.
right?
Yeah.
So now, like as a client or as a borrower, you're looking you're looking at something from me saying that you're getting an interest rate of 6.99, and that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But if you can look at this in a different light and see that effectively, because of that monthly savings in your taxes, you're really
Right.
looking at an interest rate of 5.27.
Wow. That's pretty huge. Good for you for doing all of the work to show
Isn't
her
that
that
neat?
because that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't put this Excel spreadsheet together because I don't know how to do Excel, but I love that we have this put together. It was an eye opener for me. I mean,
Yeah,
I knew that there was a tax benefit, but I didn't know, and I'm not a CPA, so I don't want this to look like it's tax advice or anything like that. But just raise the flag for people. Like this is not
right.
as dire as it seems.
Look at it in a different light, like you said. Just put a new lens on it and be able to say
Yeah.
she was looking at 2,800 was what her max was, and with the tax savings, it's going to be a couple hundred less than that. That's huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And another thing to point out is, we're almost halfway through the year.
Hmm.
So it's possible she wouldn't realize this until her 2027 tax filing. Because if she's only paying in at this interest rate, for six
Six
months,
months. Yeah.
she might not get to where she needs to be. It's going to be the following year. So, I will be completely transparent with everybody about what this really looks like. I don't want them to think, oh my God, I'm going to get this tax
Right.
refund
Right.
back, in April of 2026, because it will take that first,
Yeah.
you need a full year of paying in mortgage interest for this.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
isn't
That's
that cool?
huge. Yeah, that is cool. So
So
that
much.
was a divorcing client, but it sounds like that even with these interest rates, people that are first-time home buyers even that are trying to get into the market, same thing.
100% because they don't have a tax write-off as renters.
Right.
They're just building
Absolutely.
somebody else's equity and they're taking the tax write-off.
Yep.
So
That's
yeah, this
huge.
is
Wow.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
So
you for sharing that.
I know we were talking about inventory too, before we started recording.
Mhm.
So I would love to hear your thoughts on that because I think we're in full on in a buyer's market.
I just ran some numbers just this week, and based on, I know you're in Denver and I'm in Boulder County, but based on just this area up here in Erie, we've seen like an 8% increase in inventory from this time last year. So from May this year to for last year, comparing that, it's 8%. So that's huge. I mean, that's a lot
Yeah.
of homes that have come on the market. A lot of things are available now for buyers. I have several buyers that are looking, and I mean, I have them set up on searches, and every week when they get their new search that comes out, I mean, it's just like full of properties that meet their criteria and everything. So I think that's great for buyers. Sellers, we're not so much in a seller's market. Some areas, I know Boulder specifically, is just because the price points there are a little bit higher, tend to be more of leaning still towards a seller's market versus like more of a balanced market. However, I think we're starting to see even those areas starting to come down a little bit as far as prices and availability and inventory. So
Yeah.
that's good news for everybody.
And, the reality is this, it's been a seller's market for longer than I've ever seen in my
Yes.
27-year career. So
Right.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but suck it up, sellers, because it
it's
has
time.
been in your favor for so long. Like,
Yep.
the buyers need a break here. So
Yeah.
I'm thrilled that there's a bit of a shift in the market.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. So hopefully, if any of the buyers out there that are still sitting on the fence, I think just with this information that we've shared today with how you can actually have some tax benefits for purchasing
Yeah,
a home and that there's a lot more available for you and that you're not competing with multiple offers as much now.
yep,
So, yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So that's great. Thank you so much for sharing all that information with us, Karla.
Yeah,
That was amazing.
you
And
are
if
so
yeah, if anybody needs help from me as your real estate agent or from Karla as your lender, please reach out. I will have our contact information below the link and watch this and share it with your friends. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Carol.